Deep in the rolling hills of Kentucky, nestled within the sprawling military base of Fort Campbell's neighbor, lies a building that has become the global shorthand for impenetrable. You've heard the phrase locked up like Fort Knox 1,000 times, but have you ever stopped to wonder what is actually happening behind those granite walls at 3 o'clock in the morning? We're talking about a fortress that holds roughly 147 million troy ounces of gold, a staggering fortune that represents a significant portion of the wealth of the United States. But here's the strangest part. Despite being one of the most famous buildings on the planet, no one, not even the president, is allowed to go inside whenever they want. In fact, most of the people who work on the base have never even seen the front door. This isn't just a big safe, it's a 24-hour living machine designed to ensure that the gold stays exactly where it is, regardless of wars, economic collapses, or even a direct nuclear strike. To understand why Fort Knox is unbreakable, we have to look past the myths of James Bond movies and into the cold, hard engineering of the United States Bullion Depository. It all starts with the physical location. The Treasury Department didn't just pick a random spot on a map. They chose a location deep inland, away from the coastlines where enemy navies could reach it, and surrounded it with 100,000 acres of U.S. Army land. If you wanted to even reach the fence of the depository, you would first have to navigate your way through the home of the 19th Engineer Battalion and various high-intensity training grounds. But let's say you somehow made it past thousands of armed soldiers. You would then come face to face with the first layer of the fortress itself. The building is constructed of 16,000 cubic feet of granite, reinforced with 4,200 cubic yards of concrete and 750 tons of reinforced steel. It's essentially a mountain disguised as a building, and while it looks like a two-story structure from the outside, the real secrets are buried deep beneath the Kentucky soil. The heart of the facility is the vault, a two-level steel and concrete structure that is completely independent of the outer building. It's like a box within a box, and the space between those boxes is monitored by sensors so sensitive they can detect the vibration of a footstep from several rooms away. Now, you might be thinking, surely there's a door, and surely doors can be picked. Well, not this one. The main vault door at Fort Knox weighs 22 tons and is made of a proprietary drill-resistant material that laughs at industrial diamonds. It is 21 inches thick, and there is no single person on Earth who knows the code to open it. Instead, the staff members are divided into groups, with each person knowing only a small fraction of the combination. You would have to kidnap and coordinate a dozen different high-level officials just to get the door to budge. And even then, the door is set on a time lock that prevents it from being opened outside of strictly scheduled hours. But the security doesn't stop at the physical walls. The wonder of Fort Knox lies in its active defense systems. The building is surrounded by multiple fences, including an electrified perimeter that would make a bug zapper look like a toy. Between these fences lies a no-man's land filled with motion sensors and high-definition infrared cameras that feed into a central command center manned 24/7 by the United States Mint Police. These aren't your average security guards. They're a federal law enforcement agency with specialized training in defensive tactics and heavy weaponry. In fact, the Mint Police have their own firing ranges on site to ensure their marksmanship never slips. And if a ground assault were to happen, the depository has a few surprises hidden in the landscaping. There are rumors of maze-like minefields buried beneath the grass and remote-controlled machine gun turrets that can rise from the ground to sweep the perimeter. While the government won't confirm the minefields for obvious reasons, they do admit that the facility is capable of being sealed airtight in seconds. If a chemical or biological attack were detected, the ventilation system would shut down, and the staff inside would switch to an independent air supply, similar to what you'd find on a submarine. This level of paranoia might seem extreme until you realize what's at stake. We aren't just talking about gold bars. We are talking about the deep storage of the American soul. Inside the vault, the gold is held in individual cells, each sealed with a special tape that shows the slightest hint of tampering. Every few years, auditors come in to weigh the gold, but they don't just count the bars. They use a process called assaying to shave off tiny flakes of the metal to ensure it's still 24-karat gold and hasn't been swapped for lead spray-painted yellow. It's a process so tedious it makes watching paint dry look like an action movie, but it's the only way to maintain the world's trust in the US dollar. Interestingly, the gold isn't the only thing that has called the depository home. During World War II, when the U.S. was terrified of a Nazi invasion or a Japanese bombing run on the East Coast, the government secretly moved the original Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Gettysburg Address to Fort Knox. They even kept the Magna Carta there for a while. The fortress became a secular temple for the most important pieces of paper in human history, because everyone knew that if Fort Knox fell, the country had already been lost. Even the Holy Crown of Hungary was kept there for safety during the Cold War. But how does a place like this handle the modern world? In an era of cyber warfare and hacking, you might think the depository is vulnerable to a digital heist. However, the most unbreakable feature of Fort Knox is that it is intentionally low-tech where it counts. The vault's mechanical systems are isolated from the internet. You can't hack a 22-ton steel bolt from a laptop in Russia. There are no smart locks here. It is a world of gears, tumblers, and physical keys. It's a 1930s solution to a 2020s problem. If the power goes out, the fortress doesn't just unlock its doors, it stays exactly as it is, powered by massive backup generators and a dedicated water supply that can keep the garrison alive for weeks without outside help. The surrounding military base provides a final, insurmountable layer of protection. At any given moment, there are thousands of soldiers, hundreds of tanks, and a fleet of attack helicopters just a few miles away. Any unauthorized aircraft that enters the airspace over the depository is immediately flagged, and if they don't turn around, they will find themselves being escorted, or worse, by the U.S. Air Force. This isn't just about protecting metal, it's about projecting an image of absolute, unshakable stability. The existence of Fort Knox tells the rest of the world that no matter how chaotic the markets get, the United States has a foundation that cannot be moved. As the sun sets over the Kentucky hills, the floodlights kick on, bathing the granite walls in a white glow that can be seen for miles. The Mint police transition to their night shifts, the thermal cameras scan for the heat signatures of deer or stray hikers, and the 22-ton door remains silent. It is a 24-hour cycle of vigilance that has remained unbroken since 1937. You can't visit it, you can't see the gold, and you certainly can't get inside. It is the ultimate wonder of the American landscape, a building that everyone knows but nobody understands. It remains a silent sentinel, a tomb of treasure that will likely still be standing long after the cities around it have changed beyond recognition. The gold inside is cold, heavy, and motionless, but the machine protecting it never sleeps. It's a testament to the lengths a nation will go to protect its secrets, proving that sometimes the best way to stay powerful is to stay behind a 21-inch thick door.